All right. Here's the thing.
Climb trees, hop fences, get into trouble.
She says that I drink too much. Fuck up, she hates my dog. She says I need to grow up. I'm dropping fast, get away. Do it when you on the top alley, right way. Yeah, I'd be better off dead. I don't give a shit, I just don't want to die and go my way.
Bearing stayed on, and his wheel just ripped off.
3 beers and I'm so messed up. Get drunk and I can't shut up.
There's not a lot of people that can skate something that big.
She says that I drink too much. Fuck up, she hates my gut. Oh! She says I need to grow up. I drink too much. Staring at the ceiling. I'll be just fine. I'm not a losing feeling. Three beers, I'm so messed up. Get drunk and I can't shut up. She says that I drink too much. Fuck up, she hates my gut. I just don't know what to do. I'm still fucked up over yeah. She says that I drink too much. So I ain't ready for a fun. She said I need to grow up.
Never seen that before.
When I was 10 years old, my grandpa took me to a Best Buy just outside of DC and bought me Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on the Nintendo 64. I remember staring at the box in my hands in the checkout lane, suspended in disbelief that I was finally going to own the game that everyone back home worshipped. It was the summer of 2000. Pop culture writ large was gesturing toward two paths in a forked road for nascent teenage boys. On the right, a preppy suburbia full of Abercrombie polos, team sports, and the OC. On the left, a counterstrike of rockers with skateboards wearing studded belts and listening to loud music on portable CD players. I'm not sure I could have ever got along with the football players, but if we're talking about influence, the force of that blue cartridge was undeniable in nudging me toward the outcasts. Within a year, I was riding my first skateboard. I grew up in El Paso, Texas, a big city with a small town heart cradling the border of Mexico. Summers there in the desert were sunny and sweltering, so the long breaks from school required us kids to get creative, lest we die of boredom. A normal day on the block was a rotation of heating up and cooling off, skating the curbs in front of our houses until it got too hot, then ducking inside to eat lunch, huddle around a television, and run combos in Roswell or Airport or Burnside. Or we'd pop in a pro tape to harness the magic of Stoke, that intangible cocktail of inspiration mixed with blind confidence. Transworld's In Bloom, Flip's Sorry, Lakai's Beware of the Flare, Girls' Yeah Right. I could recite every segment front to back, trick by trick, song by song. These tapes were at once our user manuals and our cultural encyclopedias. They made us feel like we could do anything, be anything, these skaters, these titans of a concrete Olympus. One afternoon, we were inside watching parts when I somewhat shyly said, "I'm going to do the 5-stair today." Just around the corner on Sun Valley, there was a church that only ran service on Sundays, and so it was always empty. In the back, and more importantly in the shade, there was a perfect staircase of 5 steps with just enough of a landing to safely roll away before colliding with the double doors of the rear entrance. The church was where skateboarders in Northeast El Paso took their first big leaps of faith. You were christened there. Clearing the 5-stair was proof of something real. A currency, 1 part bragging rights, 1 part war metal. Both Jesus and Joseph had done the 5-stair. I had seen them do it. They were the coolest skaters in our group, and I wanted to be like them. They wore baggy pants and D3s, and they could skate the church without the help of video games or VHS tapes. So we rolled over and rolled up. If you've never skateboarded before, I need you to understand that physics don't apply to enactors and observers in equal measure. There's some wacky relativity happening there. For my buddies at the bottom of the 5-stair, everything looked normal. Me, the skateboard, the drop. But from the top of the board looking down, it felt like 50 feet of diagonal clearance shot between me and the promised land. Maybe more. In order to gap it, I really had to push off and go faster than I'd ever gone before. Typically, when skating a spot for the first time, there's a ritual of approach. It starts by rolling up to the edge, screeching to a halt, sharpening your eyes to the landing spot like a cat measuring a vertical leap with snappy jolts of its head, then running back to the start and doing it again, and again, and again. But you don't want to do it too many times, because you'll get in your head, and your buddies will grow impatient, and they'll slowly stop believing in you. You don't want the added pressure of a restless audience. Eventually, once you feel like you've got the calculus intact, you have to actually ollie the damn thing. You have to actually send yourself flying off the stairs. The first real try, the one where you commit, is harrowing. Your upper body gets wrapped in rope, but your legs turn to spaghetti. You feel like you're cut in half. At the very last second, as the edge approaches underneath your speeding wheels, you want nothing more than to kill the momentum, reset, and chalk it up to a bad glare off the windows or a stray rock. You want to make excuses and call it off. We'll come back tomorrow. But you don't. You push like hell, barrel toward the drop-off, snap the board under your toes, and fly. And that's the moment that defines skateboarding. Because the jump is to make a loser's bet. Odds are you won't roll away. Odds are you're going to get hurt. Taking my first leap off the 5-stair, I felt like I could fall forever. Time dilated and I was stuck hanging up there. And an awful feeling hit the pit of my stomach, like when a plane falls 100 feet in turbulence, and my legs got all weak like wet noodles and my ears only heard the wind. I fell 500,000 feet and lived my whole life up there, above the 5-stair at the church on Sun Valley. When I came back down to earth, and I was rolling away, a childlike burst of pure joy shot through my heels into my heart and out of my hands. I had descended the world's smallest mountain. Time reset and the wind in my ears turned into cheers from my friends. Immediately, I felt like I crossed a threshold, a before and after event, some street-born graduation with an invisible cap and gown. I was part of the club, the 5-stair club of Northeast El Paso. I was 12 years old. Red Deck Wins, the video I made in May 2022, came out of the fire of this deep memory. The refrain that frames the piece exalts the power of going all in. It opens with a segment of what I see as pure expressions of a red deck in other disciplines. Super Meat Boy getting ripped up by a buzzsaw, David Rudisha setting the world record in the 800 meters, a brutal race that drenches every muscle in your skeleton with lactic acid, the legendary Daniel Naroditsky calculating an impossible checkmate in seconds and erupting with surprise as it plays out on the board. Tragically, we lost Danya in October last year, surreal because his spirit feels indomitable and still so alive. He was a pioneer and an ambassador and an irreplaceable force, a lightning-fast chess player, sharp as a tack, a candle that burned brighter than the wick could contain. Intertwining with the history of Red Deck Wins is the vignette of Aaron Homoki, aka Jaws, battling the Lyon 25, a monstrous staircase in France that over 10 years later remains untouched on a skateboard except by him. As the video illustrates, Jaws took slam after slam after slam, trying to conquer this thing. He tore his ACL and his MCL, he fought off cops, he made bargains with security guards in broken French to let him try just one more time. He came back months and years later to negotiate with the ghost of what was haunting him. The best skateboarders are often possessed. They aren't motivated at all by their accomplishments, but tortured by what is still left undone. Jaws didn't rehab his knee to keep his career alive. He did it just to risk it all again on the Lyon 25. Present at the last attempt, the one he landed, was Ali Boulala, a guy I saw nearly die on Lyon in the Sorry tape as a kid. Ali got close but never landed it. There must still be some part of him that wishes he could launch himself across the set one last time. I wonder if seeing Jaws roll away helped ease some distant pain. Negotiating with pain seems to be at the core of Red Deck Wins. For years and years, the best slide decks were filled to the brim with cards that in some way hurt to cast. Huge risk was paired part and parcel with huge reward. You couldn't have one without the other. Fire Drinker Satyr, Price of Progress, Flame Rift, Sulfuric Vortex. There's a clip in this video of Tom Ross casting 3 1-drops into his own Eidolon of the Great Revel. That's some skateboarder shit. Red Deck Wins is full of drawbacks. Registering a deck like this, you know you're taking a gamble. You're a prize fighter hoping to steal the win with speed, not strength, and you have 4 rounds to KO. All your cards are partially against you. Rakdos Cackler can't block. Goblin Guide paves the path for your enemies. Jackal Pup keeps the sword double-edged. Speaking of the pup, Pup, the band that opens and closes this video, is yet another honorary example of Red Deck Wins. A somewhat self-defeating punk band from Toronto, Canada, their discography is full of melancholic tracks that celebrate the difficulty of being alive. Their whole operation seems to always be on the brink of collapse, like a cardboard guitar plugged into a water-damaged rig and turned all the way up. Stefan Babcock, the lead singer, tore his vocal cords trying to keep up with touring life. After evaluating the damage, his doctor turned to him and said, "The dream is over." Babcock and company turned it back on the doctor and made that declaration the title of their second album, The Dream is Over. Just like Jaws, Pup are still ripping through shows against all odds with nothing to prove except that the only way out is through, and it's gonna hurt. 2 songs from that album appear in this video. My Life is Over and I Couldn't Be Happier opens it up. Familiar Patterns closes it out. I often say that this video is still the only thing I've ever made that I actually like. Only after I wrote it did I realize that its central message, go all in, was exactly what I needed to hear at exactly the moment I tied it all together. I had finished my PhD, I was scaling up Rhystic Studies, I was living together with my girlfriend, but I was hesitant about everything. I had 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Should I continue with my pursuits in academics? Should I accept the inconsistencies and risks of running a small business? Should I marry this girl? It seemed everything around me was defined by questions instead of answers. Everything was a hypothetical, a possible future of latent potential, like a bishop tucked away behind a chain of pawns. It only occurred to me after I published Red Deck Wins that I was the problem, that I was bailing on everything, that I was making excuses on the approach about stray pebbles and the sun in my eyes. You can't ride a skateboard with 1 foot dragging along the asphalt. You can't land halfway down the stairs. It took me a year at least to listen to my own advice. In 2023, I got my first tattoo, then my second, then my 3rd. I wanted to make permanence less abstract, more tangible. The portal on my right bicep is a symbol of the world unknown. More concretely, it has 5 steps. I signed contracts with sponsors and got to work on making videos about magic and going to conventions and appearing on game shows and riding the waves of freelancing. I realized that Rhystic Studies can't exist unless I mean it with my whole chest. In September, I took the most important leap of my life. I pulled the car over in the middle of nowhere, Texas. I got down on one knee and I asked her to be my wife. By the end of the year, I understood what my grandpa always believed, but could never quite get through to me, much like that sentence. Commitment is clarity. On the other side of tough decisions, everything is better, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. Jaws knows that. Jackal-Pup and Pup do too. So do I, and so does she. A couple weeks ago, my wife gave birth to our first child, our son. She went through hell to do it. All this talk about self-inflicted suffering seems trite against what she endured for 9 months and then 16 hours. Everything they say is true about labor, about birth, about a newborn baby's cry being music to worried parents' ears. These tranquil days and sleepless nights have been nothing short of magic, magic of a different kind. Peppering the visuals of Red Deck Wins are short clips from The Sandlot, one of countless movies I can't wait to watch with my boy. When I was younger, I saw a spitting image of myself in Scotty Smalls, a dorky kid hesitant about the world and timid to make friends, stuck inside playing with his toys. Suddenly now, as a parent, it's the pleas of his mother that ring like sermon. Run around, scrape your knees, get dirty, get into trouble for crying out loud. Mrs. Smalls, you've been right all along. Mrs. Smalls, you're a skateboarder, you're a slide deck, you're the 800 meters. I think about Scotty wearing a black eye catching his first pop fly to the approval of the rest of the diamond, and another refrain comes to mind. You can't make an omelet without cracking some eggs. I made this video 4 years ago when it finally occurred to me that I was living on the wrong kind of edge, the immobile one of indecision. I took a look at my life and my past and remembered a singular sunny day in northeast El Paso, some kids hiding behind a vacant building, and a test of guts. I don't think any of this happens, my career, my wife, my baby, without skateboarding, without those 5 stairs behind the church on Sun Valley, without my grandpa, and without the gift of that blue cartridge. All of these things were speaking in unison the same decree. Go all in. Go all in. Go all in. This video is for the ones who go all in. This is the story of Red Deck Wins.
Let's do this, dude. Right here.
You know, when I was younger, I didn't respect the red deck.
All right, so a quick start as we'll get used to seeing here for Martin Dang. 3 creatures on turn 2 and all of them attacking.
It's quick, very quick. None of them are good enough to hold on to a D shot.
Now it's a race. Oh, what a race here.
And one thing red decks have always done is really punish opponents. There's Exquisite Firecraft, there's game 1!
That game took all of 5 turns in like 2 minutes.
And I think Tom will likely just close the door from here. And that is going to do it. So Tom Ross not messing around, getting game 1 over within, 45 seconds.
It's knight f6 check. Knight f6. Oh, nice. He found it. Oh my gosh, out of absolutely nowhere.
I used to think the red deck was cheap, dumb, and simplistic. But the older I get, the more I understand the attitude of those who play with a bunch of basic mountains and a grip full of fire. The grinders who holds nothing back, like Jaws leaping over the Lyon 25. Like Stefan Babcock blowing out his vocal cords singing punk songs in the band Pup. Like those kids in the Sandlot who knew they had one summer to live it up before everyone moved away. This one's for those who go all in. This is the story of Red Deck Wins. It all started with a daydream. Back in 1994, Jay Schneider was sitting in a linear algebra class at Georgia State University, but his mind was elsewhere, wandering, thinking about magic.
I was, at Georgia State taking a linear algebra class, and this is, of course, in my lab while I'm supposed to be listening to my professor who's droning on about some sort of finding the slope of a curve in linear algebra. But the concept was, hey, the same way you can sum the progressions under the slope of a line in this linear algebra stuff the professor's talking about, I could apply this to magic. What if I looked at the progression of mana and what the average mana that I would have per turn was, make a graph, then model against that a creature curve so they lined up 1-to-1, that I could then have this curve of creatures that aligned up with the curve of mana that the deck generates. And as long as I know what the curve of mana is, I know what creatures and spells to put in the deck. Suddenly there was this concept, sort of this mana curve. And I was like, well, that's a good term for it. I'll call it the mana curve.
In 1996, Schneider built a deck for his best friend, Paul Sly, that applied the mana curve theory to its design. Sly took it to a Pro Tour qualifier in Atlanta and walked out with second place. The deck surprised everyone in the room. Even the tournament organizer remarked that up till now, I still don't understand how this deck got as far as it did, but it did. The math worked out, I guess. Sly's name spread like wildfire through the tournament scene. He became synonymous with this goofy-looking 61-card mono-red deck, which leveraged cheap creatures and direct damage to control the board. Even though Jay Schneider designed the deck, it was immortalized in Paul's name.
It was the standard to name decks after people.
The Sly decks carved out their niche in the meta, and with the release of Tempest, they became the most dominant strategy in the block-constructed format. It was here that the skeleton of the original deck took its first major derivation in the hands of Dave Price, who shifted the play away from controlling the board in favor of a full beatdown approach. With a pile of cheap, aggressive creatures and a streamlined mana curve, Price won Pro Tour Los Angeles in 1998 with Dead Guy Red, a deck of his own design. In The Duelist issue number 29, Price wrote a primer on Dead Guy Red, reminding readers that aggressive decks are extremely focused. Their goal is to kill opponents as quickly as possible. He would repeat this line 3 times in the write-up. The DNA of all future beatdown strategies is right here in Price's winning deck list. The numbers are almost comically simple, 16 basic mountains and a playset of nearly everything else. Cursed Scroll was integral to the deck's win condition, but it was the creature suites that carried the load of the damage output. Among them, Jackalpup is especially representative of the deck's ethos. With 2 power for 1 mana, it was strong on rate, and its drawback shared the same attitude that drew players to the red decks in the first place. That is, winning will hurt, but you can't make omelets without cracking some eggs. At the turn of the century, the aggressive red decks solidified their place in competitive Magic and embraced a new nickname that has endured in the decades since. Red Deck Wins, originally designed by John Ormerod, was made famous by Dan Paskins at the 2000 English National Championship. With a more even distribution between creatures and spells, this deck provided another variant to the Sly archetype. Cards like Arc Lightning and Shock gave pilots choice in targets between creatures and opponents, and Hammer of Bogarden and Get to Encampment afforded the deck some late-game inevitability. With the inclusion of 3 pillages, this deck could also destroy opponents' lands, a strategy called Ponza that would shoot off as another branch of the Sly tree. 4 years later, another unexpected red deck took top 8 of Pro Tour Columbus and extended with a list that resembled Paskin's build. Against a field of complex combo decks and fancy blue instants, Shuhei Nakamura registered 25 1-drops. This all but guaranteed a first-turn play in every single game. Red Deck Wins has no time to waste. It fires on all cylinders when its basic mountains enter the battlefield tapped. The same is true of its creatures. As Michael Flores famously noted, the theoretically ideal red deck of 40 bolts and 20 mountains needs 4 turns to kill you dead. 4 turns.
It's time to begin.
Against a few mountains enter the battlefield
of our standard open in Las Vegas.
Keith Selden on the left here hopes to get to turn 4 alive. He's piloting a blue-white control deck that stabilizes at 4 mana with a timely Supreme Verdict. But Kevin Rand's mountains are entering the battlefield tapped. He's going all in for turn 4, racing to beat the board wipe.
Yeah, be a little quicker to the ground than that. This is a Rakdos Kakala. It's going to be unleashed, so a 2-2 right away. Elspeth's not the ideal draw.
Turn 2. Selden plays Mutavault and passes. Rand attacks with Cackler, then chains together 2 Burning Tree emissaries into a Fire Fist striker.
Burning Tree Emissary. Oh boy. And Kevin Straw's not shabby.
Turn 3. Selden plays Banishing Light to remove one of the red creatures, then passes back to Rand, who immediately starts counting.
See Rand doing the math. You see red guy tapping the table like that. It's not a good sign.
You're dead.
It's not a good sign.
With an all-out attack and a blood-rushed Rubblebelt Maka, Selden's life total is cut clean in half. Rand then passes the turn. He's aware of a potential sweeper, which is exactly what Selden draws in Supreme Verdict. But he has no islands to cast it, so he passes back to the red deck. Rand taps 2 mountains for Ash Zealot, and all the creatures turn sideways.
And I think this is a lock. Titan Strength, that is it. Kevin Rand wins game number 1 in very impressive fashion over Keith Selden.
4 turns. Game 2 went exactly as long. The magic number for the red deck.
That's a shock, and that is going to do it. Mono red aggro in the hands of Kevin Rand is going to defeat Keith Selden, and it's a 3-peat for the Mountains.
Another prototypical feature of the ideal red deck is its cost. Not only do the creatures and spells run a low rate on mana, but most of the cards can be found left over at draft tables and in bargain bins at the local game store. Tom Ross the boss proved that sometimes you can't buy wins with expensive cardboard. As they say, all that glitters is not gold.
5 damage comes across from Ross. Burton sees at 5. He takes a draw. Looks like it was a copy of Xenagos. He's got a lot of expensive cards in his hand. They're worth a lot of value in dollars, but they're not going to get the job done against Ross's sock full of pennies. Yeah, the sock full of pennies. The garbage bag full of batteries beat down that Tom Ross is bringing to the table here. Just awesome stuff.
Tom Ross took this pile of draft shaft to the SCG Invitational in the summer of 2014. He named the deck after Paul Sly, and built it by following much the same principles. 17 basic mountains, 31 1-drops, 26 creatures, $60 and a spot in the finals. I love this moment in Game 3 when Ross drops 3 Legion Loyalists into his own Eidolon of the Great Revel.
Tom's going to 6 himself. Gosh, you gotta love that.
Like omelets and eggs, red deck wins when the life totals go down, their own included. After a hammering in Game 2 of the finals, Tom let the boss Sly deck rip in Games 3 and 4. You know how this one ends.
Madcap skills swing for 5, and he's gonna go for a kill. It's Rubblebelt Maka and the Titan Strength for the overkill. Tom Ross.
A sea of comments. Madcap skills, Titan Strength, Rubblebelt Maka.
Wins that
45 cents.
Providing the colorful commentary on this match is another legendary pilot of Mono Red. Patrick Sullivan is renowned for his skillful play with decks running Basic Mountain. Perhaps best exemplified in this match against Ross Merriam from the 2012 Legacy Open. After a clean back and forth, the players head into Game 3, where Merriam has a commanding board presence against Sullivan's Grim Lavamancer and an active Sulfuric Vortex. In this spot, Merriam is also winning the life total race.
Patrick's between a rock and a hard place here. That knight, threatening lethal.
After a think, Sullivan goes all in on the gutsiest line, one that only pays off if Merriam makes even the tiniest of errors. Patrick starts by casting Chain Lightning on Aethersworn Canonist, which will let him play more than one spell on his turn. Then he cracks a Scalding Tarn going to 5, and taps 2 for Flame Rift, which deals 4 damage to each player. This puts Patrick at 1 life, but 1 is not none.
Flame Rift.
Gutsy. I like that.
Always gutsy.
Patrick Sullivan is nothing if not gutsy.
Patrick passes the turn back, but on his end step, Merriam has a response. Blink and you'll miss it.
Patrick Flame Rift. Oh my god. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That is how you play a red deck.
Merriam here taps Wasteland and activates Kasali Pridemage to destroy Sulfuric Vortex. In response, Sullivan taps 2 mountains to cast Price of Progress, which deals 2 damage to each player for each non-basic land they control. Ross has 3 non-basics in play, so he takes 6, but he's at 9 life, so Sullivan follows up with Fire Blast, which he casts by sacrificing 2 mountains instead of paying 6 mana. This deals 4 damage to Ross, killing him on the spot and leaving him in total disbelief.
Patrick Sullivan.
That is how you play a red deck. You want to learn how to play a red deck? Study that game. Watch that game once a day so you know how to play a red deck.
The ability to steal a game out of nowhere is another wonderful attribute of a red deck with reach. Playing against these decks is nerve-wracking due to this ability to punish any player who even slightly overextends their advantage. A pair of untapped mountains can sometimes be more threatening than their island counterparts, as Sullivan proved in this match. Wyatt Darby certainly knows all about stealing victories with red deck wins. In Game 5 of the finals of Pro Tour Dominaria, with 50 grand on the line and his back against the wall, Darby defied the advantage bar with a top deck that rivaled the legendary Lightning Helix in the hands of Craig Jones. By all measures, Gonzalo Pinto had his win secured, if not for the aptly named Glorybringer that Darby peeled off the top of his library.
He's going to put him to 1. Wyatt Darby has to find an answer for that Thopter this draw step or we are done here. Was that a Glorybringer?
That's a Glorybringer.
Oh my goodness.
Who says you have to be at Fenway to watch the fireworks? Listen as LSV and Paul Cheon do the quick math.
Blocks Hazaret, he takes 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. Glorybringer
Are you
kills,
serious?
Glorybringer kills
Are you
Chain
serious
Whirler.
right now?
That's 11.
Hazaret gets blocked. Kari's at 3, Soulscar Mages 1, Chain Whirler's 3,
11.
Glorybringer's 4.
Did he just
That's 11
top-deck
damage.
the Pro Tour Glorybringer off the top for Wyatt Darby? He's done the math. He sends it in, clears the Chain Whirler. All Pinto can do is look at lethal damage. He can't believe that Wyatt Darby just stole the Pro Tour from him.
Gonzalo Pinto here has experienced what we in the business call tough beats. He too was playing a red-based aggro deck, and despite its catchy moniker, there are nonetheless many matches that red deck loses. Sometimes, when you go all in, the other guy has the nuts and the glass cannon shatters.
Yeah, so I just got back from the doctor. Said that I tore my MCL. It's completely torn, and it's going to take about 6 to 8 months to heal.
In the 2019 Mythic Championship, Li Shiqian ran into a brick wall of mid-range value in both his games in round 4. Knowing nothing about these cards, it's still plain to see how far behind the mono-red deck is, how turn 4 came and went with a blur, how little reach is left when Javier Dominguez has 9 fancy lands and 3 wordy creatures with dice on top of them in play. A quick snapshot of the second feature match in this round between Luis Salvato and Tomoharu Saito paints much the same dismal picture. Red deck loses when your opponents bring paper and you're throwing rock.
All of that hard work from Saito completely reversed by these 2 elementals that are just getting bigger and bigger here. There's the handshake, Luis Salvato picking up the win there.
But there's perhaps no worse feeling than dying by the sword you carry. In general, there are only 2 zones that matter to a red deck player, the battlefield and the graveyard. The red deck argues that the cards in your hand are wasting away in a purgatory of rotting potential energy, that life happens in the red zone and death is the byproduct of time well spent, that cards on the table are worth way more than those in the grip. Nobody knows worse than Yamwing Chun just how important an empty hand is to red deck wins. In the semifinals of Pro Tour Hour of Devastation, Chun squared off against a titan of competitive magic, Paulo Vitor Damudahosa. Each player was piloting a monster of a deck called Ramanop Red, which was among the most powerful iterations of a Paul Sly beatdown ever seen at the top tables. This deck won with creatures, with burn spells, with planeswalkers. It won early and it won late, due in part to its namesake card. Ramanop Ruins gave Red another axis of attack never seen before, and it was banned in Standard 6 months after the conclusion of this tournament. In the mirror match, though, another card in the deck often proved decisive.
But of course, anything can change, as we've seen in previous matches, if somebody draws a Hazaret.
Game 1 went to Palu, and Game 2 ended just as decisively with an active Hazaret in play. Facing elimination in Game 3, Chun clawed his way back to victory by doing what Red's done best for almost 30 years and counting.
Oh, here we go. Classic mono-red strategies.
Oh, baby.
3 to the dome.
Game 4 played into the mid-range strengths of this deck, ending with an eternalized Earthshaker Kenra bearing a beefy 4 toughness and a timely Collective Defiance to remove Palu's only blocker. So on to Game 5 we went. Anxious to see the
Tried
comeback
watching
kid
parts
live the
when I
dream
somewhat
and
shyly
topple a
said,
magic god for a spot
I'm going to
in the
do the
finals.
5-stair today.
And it was looking good.
Just around the
Yang
corner
Wing
on
Chun
Sun
drew
Valley,
one
there
of
was
the
a
more
church
important
that only
cards in the
ran
matchup
service
here.
on Sundays.
Hazard the Fervent
He
sitting
and
in his
bought me
hand.
Tony
We're gonna
Hawk's
see him
Pro
practice
Skater on the Nintendo 64.
After a few trades of
I
creatures
remember
and burn
staring at the
spells, we
box in my
arrive at
hands
the
in
most
checkout
pivotal
lane,
moment of the match.
suspended in disbelief.
Chun casts Hazaret and faces a crossroads.
Magic God for a
With
spot.
only
I'm
8
gonna do
life
the
and
5
Paolo at
stairs.
16, he must decide between playing defense and racing.
Oh, is it getting in there?
He's shaking his head. He can't decide. It's such a close decision. He's looking
Just
at
kidding,
Hazaret.
just kidding.
He's looking at Hazaret saying, what would you do?
Then, Chun goes all in.
And he is going to attack.
Oh, and he gets
Hazaret the
in.
Fervent hits the red
Off
stone.
to the races.
The turn goes back to Palu, who follows his main line and chips Chun down to 4. Now everything is lethal, which means Chun's only out is an incendiary flow from the top of the deck. Together with an attack from Hazaret and a collective defiance to the face, he'll have exactly 11 damage to kill Palu and go on to the finals. On his draw step, Chun finds
Incendiary flow? Is it a flow?
See what he's got.
It's a flow!
It is an incendiary flow.
the crowd and the advantage bar go wild. That's lethal, the dream is real. Down goes Palu. But just as quickly, Chun moves to combat and everything disintegrates.
Look at this.
No,
He's
you
just
can't attack. You can't attack. He has only 2 cards in hand.
He can't
Is he in his
attack.
combat step? What's going on? He can't attack. Is he?
Oh,
that cost him
no.
the game.
Oh,
that cost him the
no.
game.
That could cost Yang Wing Chun the game.
Sometimes the omelet comes together, but you drop it on the way back to the dining room table. Magic is a game of minute details and micro advantages. In his excitement, Chun overlooked the critical line of text on Hazaret that says it can't attack or block unless you have 1 or fewer cards in hand. Once again, the hand of Red Deck Wins is a purgatory of rot. Either you play your cards or die holding the hot potato. Chun lost this game a few turns later. When I was younger, I didn't respect the red deck. I used to think it was cheap, dumb, simplistic. But the older I get, the more I understand those who play with fire, who burn out in a vibrant and explosive finale as sulfur hangs in the warm summer air. Red Deck wins with alacrity and tact, with clever play and perfect timing, with cheap creatures printed on cheap cardboard and a hasty dragon flying in from the top deck. Red Deck wins when everything comes into play tapped, when you do the math on the table, when you turn all your dudes sideways and the board is a mess, and it's backed up by a fiery range of basic mountains.
There's the block.
Red Deck wins when you go all in.
There's the match. Yo, Larson is the champion of Pro Tour Magic Origins, and he is super stoked to that.
On a gray Monday morning in October 2015, Aaron Homoki stared down a flight of 25 stairs. After bargaining with security, the French police gave him exactly 1 hour to ollie the set. It's now or never, do or die. His dad was there, a contractor who knew the height and length of stairs in blueprints and in builder's codes, but never from the top of a skateboard. After 12 tries and 12 slams, Jaws rolled down the ledge for lucky 13 and went all in. Introducing the Red Deck Wins playmat. I commissioned artist Rope Arrow to illustrate a goblin ripping out of a portal on a lightning bolt skateboard over a 25 stair. This thing rips. You can read more about it on my Substack, and you can pre-order it starting right now at stitchersupply.com. You'll have 3 weeks before the window closes, so pick one up right away. Thank you, Rope Arrow, for this killer commission, and Jeffrey Palmer for animating it and bringing it to life. So stoked on this playmat. All right, we're back. All right, check this out, man. This is the Red Deck Wins playmat. I got some notes. We're going to do a Q&A here. Every time I watch this video, I get stoked. This is it. Yeah, as you saw, Stitcher Supply. I'll put the link here in a second. Yeah, I worked with Rope Arrow on this. Rope Arrow has a history in printmaking and in screen printing, so a lot of that approach came through here. I don't want to sell you anything. Like this is obviously for sale now. We got a couple hundred copies still in the bin that we can ship right away. More importantly, though, Rope Arrow is here. So whatever compliments you're going to send to me with this video, I don't want to hear them. Can you just hype up Rope Arrow in the chat, please? Rope Arrow is a fucking killer artist, and I just want to scream their name from the top of the roofs about how awesome they are and how kick-ass their work is, and they deserve so much more love and attention. So let's just shout out Rope Arrow. God damn it. Shout out Rope Arrow. Can you get some, like, I don't know, fire bolts or goblins or something? This thing is so wicked. There's so many cool details on it. It came out unbelievably cool. Just bright red, straight up in your face, dude flying off a 25 stair with a rip in his pants. Okay, I got some notes. I took some notes. If you have questions, you can leave them in the goal with this playmat is this is the best condition it'll ever be in. I'm gonna go run it over with my car after I'm done with this. I took some notes. You can ask questions in the chat if you tag me, and I can scroll past them as we're going through. Here are some notes from watching the video, okay? Shout out Rope Arrow. Also shout out Jeffrey Palmer, of course, for the killer animation in the intro. If you're just tuning in later, rewind, go back to the front. I made this awesome 3-minute pup compilation once again, and there's a killer animation. I'll put that on Bluesky probably tomorrow too. Okay, also in that intro, for those of you outside of skateboarding, Chris Joslin made history this year, the end of last year, by tray flipping El Toro. El Toro is a 20 stair set at El Toro High School somewhere in Southern California. It's a legendary spot. He, as I alluded to in the clip, he landed it. He technically landed it in 2018. He rolled away, but his truck broke, so he spun out. And so for years and years in the skateboarding world, it's been like, did he land it? Technically, yes. Technically, no. It's been very controversial. So in the same way that Jaws was tortured by what was left undone, Joslin was tortured for 7 or 8 years by landing the 3-flip on El Toro, but not really landing it. And recently, he broke the internet. He escaped containment in the skateboarding world, and he 3-flipped El Toro. So the clips at the front of this video are him fucking 3-flipping El Toro, a monstrous staircase. It's one of those tricks that you wonder if someone can ever do it. I can't believe that Jaws, I mean, there's security measures now and it's been like roped off or whatever, Lyon, but I'm still amazed that Jaws is still the only one who's done Lyon. And Joslin's 3-flip on El Toro might last for a while. That thing just broke the internet. So Joslin, honorary Red Deck wins example. Here's a note that I caught while watching this back. The clip with Sullivan and Ross Merriam, that legendary clip, you go back and listen to it, and one of the funnier bits of this whole thing is that they're packing up the convention in the background, and you can just hear like chairs colliding and like tables collapsing. So it sounds like they're in a construction zone as like Sullivan is in the tank trying to like eke out this 1% win against Maverick. So like Ross is stunned, obviously. Sullivan feels like he just ran a marathon. He's so relieved. And in the background is just this like constant crashing of tables. Oh God, I was laughing to myself. I had never noticed it until now. Also in my intro, in my essay at the front of this, I talk about those VHS tapes. These are the same ones I've had my whole life. My mom recently came up and brought like those boxes from childhood. You know how it goes. Like 3 or 4 boxes from the garage that have been in the garage for 20 years. And in them were my original skate tapes. So these are all the skate tapes that like shaped me when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. And this is the same Tony Hawk Pro Skater on 64 that my grandpa bought me when I was 10 years old in DC. This is my grandpa right here. He was the most important person in my life. And I'm just stoked that I have these still. They're like relics, of course, but God, those are my Bibles. The Lakey inspired track for the middle segment is like one of my favorite songs ever. And it's the only one that I've ever reused for a video. One of the like set in stone rules for Rhystic Studies is that every video has to have its own soundtrack. So I never reuse music except that one. I just can't get away from that. I could listen to that forever. 2 more notes and then I'll do a Q&A. Paul Cheon and Sutcliffe on commentary for the Hazaret play, unbelievable, just astounding. But I swear, like, I'll just be like in a grocery store or walking around or whatever, or like now chilling with my kid, and out of nowhere I'll just hear, "It's a flow, it's a flow." You know, Cheon says it and then he gets so stoked because Yamwing Chung peels an incendiary flow off the top of the deck, and you can just hear Cheon say, "It's a flow." And that clip of Cheon saying that is always in my mind. I don't know why. I wrote it down. It's a flow. I don't know if you can see. Damn, you probably can't see. But it's a flow. It was one of my favorite moments in in commentary. All right, last one is just every time, I don't know why, maybe this is why this is the only thing I've ever made that I like, but every single time I get teary-eyed when Jaws lands, that last cut of the video, when Jaws lands and it says Red Deck wins at the exact same time that Pup goes into that outro breakdown. I don't know why it all came together so wonderfully and quick when I edited it, but every time I watch this video, I just get so teary-eyed. I mentioned obviously in the intro too that Ali Boulala was there, but like Jaws' dad, he's the one that, like, if you look at the clip, he's like trying to run down the stairs to catch up with Jaws, and he can't because he's like an old man, you know? And so he's like hobbling down this 25 stair, and Jaws meanwhile is like getting bathed in champagne and running away from the set anyway. So I just get emotional when I look at that because, again, that's 10 years. Also 10 years, I posted about this, but very serendipitously, the album that I talked about, The Dream Is Over, just turned 10 years this, like, recently. So 10-year anniversary of that album, 10 years of Jaws, doing almost 11 now, Lyon 25, and 4 years of Red Deck wins. All right, let's go back into the chat and see if I can find, again, if you want me to ask, one more shout out to Rope Arrow. If you want me to ask, I'll actually, here, I'll put the link here for the pre-order for the playmat. If you want to pick up the Red Deck Wins playmat, we're going to give Rope Arrow a kickback on sales. So if you want to ask me a question, please tag me so I can see them in the chat. Your first video got me into grinding Red Deck Wins for the past few years. Thank you. How much do you love brown bag deli? I don't think I've ever had brown bag deli. Sorry. Did I play Skate Story? No, but I really want to, because I feel like Skate Story, that being overlapping with Dante and my Italian study stuff, it's been on my radar since before it was released, because of Skill Up's video when he featured that before it came out, and then an article in Game Informer, but I got to play it. Matching music to a video part is a dying art. Do you have a skater or song pairing you think fits perfectly? Yes. In Bloom, Evan Hernandez. It's the first segment. Go watch it on YouTube. That and then the Invisible Board segment in Yeah Right, with Charlie Tuna, and it's Today's Your Day. I forget who sings it. Today's your day, baby, what you gonna do? I know what did I know, bum 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 bum. You know, that with the Invisible Board, just cinema. And then obviously, hey, rest in peace, Mark Johnson, but Joy Division, Mark Johnson's bit, in also, I think in Yeah Right, his segment, his part in Yeah Right, I think was the first time I ever heard Joy Division. So I think of him every single time. And we lost Mark yesterday. Unbelievable loss. Unbelievable loss. I was watching Fully Flared 2 days ago, and then we woke up to the news. Unreal. My friend Tyler Lieb and I were talking about it. Is red unique in how much it strikes a chord this way for you, or have you found similarly guiding philosophies in other colors? I think writing this video also just solidified that age-old question of, like, what color are you in Magic? For a while, I thought I was blue and maybe blue-red, but, like, Red Deck Wins made me understand that it's not even close. Like, it's red by a country mile in terms of pairing an ethos or a philosophy of the color pie with like a life perspective or something you can carry with you outside of the game. I don't think anything can touch that. Although recently, maybe it's because we had our kid, I've been thinking about how much, like, white and the restorative energy of white, and, like, I think of Shivam, my friend Shivam Butt, just the like clerical hospitality, like that element of white, I think as I get older will become part of my life more and more. But still, like, I am still fully a red mage, like boldly red, and it's not close about the other things. How do you feel about red deck staples being expensive cards instead of the 35-cent commons because of the popularity of the archetype? It's a bummer when that happens because I think Tom Ross's deck, that 45-cent pile of shit cards, the sock full of batteries or sock full of pennies, the bag of batteries beatdown, that's part of the ethos. Like, red deck cards shouldn't be... That's partially why Ramming Up Red, to me, is a little bit outside of the realm of what red deck wins is. We think of, Cal and I talk about this, anyone who looks at Dan for a long time will have these like firmly Dan cards, firmly not Dan cards, and then this gray area of like, you can argue about it. Like, is this a Dan card aesthetically, culturally, emotionally, mechanically? I think that's true of red deck wins, where like the red deck wins card is always, to me, going to be like Fire Drinker Satyr, Titan Strength, that type of thing. Just like Draft Shaft, I think, is spiritually red deck wins. The moment you get into like the Ramming Up Red deck, which was like Ramming Up Ruins and Hazaret and like Kari Zev or Pia and Kira Nalar, I believe, was in that deck, and they start to command like $10 price tags, I don't know. I'm a little bit out. So for the chat, hypothetically, Glorybringer, is that a red deck wins card? Similarly, is Thundermaw Hellkite a red deck wins card? You can argue about that. Hi, Sam. What's your go-to board size and brand, if you remember? When I was young, I skated 7.5s because we were small. I mean, I was 10, 11, 12 years old. I skated 7.5 flip decks and blind decks. No, I had one blind deck that got stolen from me. I was at a birdhouse exhibition in El Paso. They were doing it in the parking lot of Sunland Park Mall, and my board got stolen from me, and my mom went ballistic. She was so mad. So that same day, we went into the skate shop inside the mall and bought like a flip deck. And at the time, there was this trend of doing like wavy decks. I remember that flip deck vividly. It was like wavy. And the idea was that it would last longer when you did board slides and stuff or whatever. So I skated 7.5s, flip decks, and Enjoy decks. I had a couple Enjoy decks. I bought an awesome Enjoy deck when I was 14 in Chicago, and I brought it back on me. I brought it back with me on the plane in my what was the brand of backpack that we all had that could carry a skateboard? I never felt cooler than that. Walking through an airport with like a blank, or with like a just an Enjoy deck stapled to my back. I was 14 and never felt cooler than that. But yeah, 7.5s and then like 52 or 53 Spitfires. Later, Lucky, I think, was the bearings, right? Those green bearings. We all had our preferences. That was another activity on the block, just like sitting and watching or flipping through CCS, circling stuff and arguing about cool shoes and cool decks and all that. I feel like the tight sequencing of cards is so important that it feels more analytical than a deck fueled by passion and risk, as you described. What are your thoughts? Fully. When you look at red deck long enough, like a true red deck wins deck, the margins are so razor thin because every card counts, because you're guaranteed to run out of gas. That's the point. It's like, you're not going to draw cards. You have such a tight window to do everything perfectly. So threat assessment becomes a huge skill in like, do you bolt face or do you bolt the blocker? And then it gets into the realm of like reading people's bluffs and knowing deck lists. Maybe in the early turns, it's better to bolt the blocker so that you get one more point of damage through, that kind of thing. Your Whir of Invention video. Oops, the chat went a little bit further. Oh, there's a lot of questions here. Thank you for asking me all these questions, but now I lost it. Damn it. Okay, Whir of Invention video feels like a distant cousin to Red Deck Wins. Did the process of creating those videos have any similarities or parallels to you? Fully. I think there's like a spirit there. It probably comes from just loud guitar music being kind of the core of both of the videos. I think the Whir of Invention video is me just kind of embracing Secret Lair for its best qualities. And that's a video in and of itself, but like, Secret Lair is at its best when it's pointing me to artists that are working outside of Magic and doing something awesome. And through Secret Lair and through Whir of Invention and that card from Ether Drift, the Seven Dwarves in Secret Lair, and then the Ether Drift card, Whir of Invention, I found Brian Chippendale and I found Brian Gibson and I found Lightning Bolt. And so like, that was me celebrating like the power of Magic to go the other way. Like, obviously I love Magic and I love everything in Magic, but it gets insular. I loved the War of Invention project because it sent me down a rabbit hole of like this 25-year history of a band. 30 years. They've been a band basically as long as Magic's been around, 30, 31 years. It's unreal. So I was like just obsessed with that band through that project. So that was a celebration of that. But I think spiritually they have a lot of overlaps for sure. And I purposely edited that video. I made that whole video on a shitty laptop because I wanted to feel kind of the tactile, like I wanted the building of that video and that project to feel like the music that they make and the way that they make it. So yeah, I call it a distant cousin, like you said. Just want to give big thanks for all you do for us. How's the family doing lately? Fatherhood treating you well. Appreciate all you do, man. Love you. Thank you. Fatherhood is awesome. God, it's the best thing ever. It just keeps getting better. That's all they say, and it's true. Everything they say about it is true. I love it. I love it, and I can't wait for this boy to grow up so we can watch The Lord of the Rings together, man. Good video pics. Need to send you Manic Mahdi and photosynthesis. Manic Mahdi, I do know. Photosynthesis, I don't, but it sounds like an Element video. If you could control what plane we would visit next and what plane we would never visit again, which ones would they be? I'd never go back to like most of the recent ones. Sorry. I'm notoriously a Bloomborough hater, so you can crucify me in the comments. That's fine. Plane we would visit next. I would just love to do a slice of life from Dominaria again. Like the Brothers War I thought was so sick. Like a Vorthos lore and story driven set that maybe focuses on a narrow band of time in Dominaria history. I like that more than like theme park planes. So Brothers War I think is just kind of the example of sets I like in Magic the most flavorfully now, rather than these like hat worlds that we keep going back to. Sitting with my windows open and a thunderstorm going on outside. Couldn't be better for this video. That's a vibe. If I could pick one arc and or setting from the Magic universe to see as a film or show adaptation, which one would you like to see? Anything with Tezzeret. I'm kind of a sucker for Tezzeret. Even Tezzeret and the Edge is kind of conceptually awesome. This wizard is pulled into a total different dimension in space, and it looks similar to the world he knows, but it's completely it's 45 degrees off, and it's in a totally new setting. And he was the big bad like villain, and suddenly he's totally irrelevant. I just love the ego death of a villain where he dominates in one world and then suddenly he realizes that the universe is so much bigger than him. That's sick. Plus, I mean, seeing any sort of visuals of like Sothera and all that would be killer. Oh, there's so many questions. My favorite Tony Hawk game, Tony Hawk Underground, for sure, because at that time, like, there was still this word of mouth thing going with glitching, and I still know how to do some of the coolest glitches in that game, specifically on the New York level or the city level, whatever it's called, where you like grapple on the wall and you can move over to one corner, and as long as you do it right, you can peel off of that corner and then just zoom around the map like this. It's such a sick glitch. And we played the hell out of that game. That was like the apex of like skateboarding and having all my skateboarding friends playing Tony Hawk all day long and then going and skateboarding in between. Yeah, so Tony Hawk Underground for sure. Do I have a favorite red deck? Good question. The one with Eidolon of the Great Revel in it. Will I be doing any new shirts soon? Yeah, they'll come out slowly. We're just doing this project as it comes along. The current one is the playmat. This is the new thing right now. So we've done 2 shirts and a playmat. I have other designs in the oven with working with artists. Here's something I'll say. I really want, because you're here, here's a sneak preview. I really want to do a Justine Jones huge ass shark shirt. Imagine a Justine Jones shark shirt on like a bright pink or bright purple shirt. I think that would fucking rip. So maybe that'll be one. Which tattoo hurt the most? This one took 5 hours. It was done by a guy called Evan in Brooklyn, and I love it. It's an ibis. And it took 5 hours, and about hour 4 I was done because my hand was stapled to my head like this. And it wasn't the needle. The needle didn't hurt at all. It was the constant wiping away, like over 4 and 5 hours of just that dry paper towel. Fucking, that hurt the most. And then a couple of lines on this panther because it was just against the bone hurt. But all of these tattoos, like this shark, I didn't feel anything. because they're all on these like meaty, chunky parts of my arm. It's not like I have any rib tattoos or a chest piece. So, oh, tattoos are fun. Listen, do it fart. Thank you, Cal. Thank you so much, Cal. Do it fart. You decide, brother. You decide. That's up to you. When was the last time you sent it down a flight of stairs, Sam? On my way, sometimes I'll work at a coffee shop near our spot, and I'll walk by this. If you follow me on Instagram, I'll post it in the next week or two. This perfect set of stairs that's like 7 or 8 steps, and there's like a perfect lead up to it and a perfect landing. And every time I walk by, I just like get that sinister goblin in my mind, and I'm like, should I just get the deck and see if I can rip off this? But I just know both of my ankles would explode. So you know, I'm confidently in my 30s now, and I haven't skateboarded for a while because my because, you know, skateboarding my whole life, my ankles are torn to shreds. So what watch do I have on? It's an Orient katana that I basically wear every single day. And one day I want to give to my kiddo. I want to wear this for 30 years. My grandpa had a watch that he wore forever. And like, I just think of him when I wear a watch. Watch culture now is like, you can have a watch for every occasion. You could spend $100,000 on a watch. I kind of like, I've worn this. This is the one that I'm going to wear forever. You'll see this in every video here on out, unless something changes dramatically. So the Orient Katana in black. What's an underbaked set that you wish got a deeper dive? Brothers War. Oh no, that was an underrated set that was very well baked that didn't get a lot of attention. Justine Jones and Bright Purple is a vibe. I agree. Do I own any cards that are the front door into a setting for you? The original Mirrodin Plains are mine. That's a great question. Do I own any cards whose art are the front door into a setting for you? Oh, nothing comes to mind, but that's a good question. Let's do a couple more and then we'll call it, okay? The most red deck trademark art. What is the most, like, something with a goblin in it? I want to say Goblin Guide, but that's more because it became the Red Deck Wins card, not because the art itself is... yeah, it's going to be like... Yeah, something with a goofy goblin doing a Mach 50, you know. Listen, I love you so much. Thanks for joining. We're going to do 2 more questions. Best commander for a Red Deck Wins, Red Deck Wins, in my opinion. I've lost to a couple of Neheb burn decks that just are killer. Yeah, I would say Neheb, or actually like Norn the Wary. I mean, because it's a 1-drop and you can do shit. I don't know. Norn's more of a combo piece. Yeah, maybe a Neheb. I want like a 2-drop that attacks every turn. I don't know. Something bad. It has to be kind of bad. It has to be kind of bad and kind of old for a good Red Deck Wins commander. As a future high school teacher, how do you think MTG fits into childhood education? Ask Mike Wildspeaker, who's been hosting a game club, and he teaches chemistry, and he puts together a club for kids in high school. And I think the community element of it, the tactile thing, more and more, one of the richest parts of Magic is that, like, now we're all addicted to our phones and we're trying to figure out how to get off our phones. You know what does that better than anything else? Playing cards with a person. You have to play cards with a person in the room. So I think, like, in terms of childhood education, you're going to learn a lot about each other and about yourself if you can just get in a room and talk to each other and play a game together. That might be more valuable than any other, like, abstract math or physics or art history thing that Magic could teach you potentially. I think it's going to teach you how to be a person in the world and have sympathy and have, like, shared experiences and create memories and friendships. That's going to be the richness of Magic going forward. I think that's the thing I would pitch if I was a parent, you know? And I am a parent, but I mean a parent to a high school kid right now. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Listen, one more time for Rope Arrow. My playmat's on the floor over there. Here's the link to the playmat, okay? You can buy this playmat. You can pre-order it now. Rope Arrow is going to get a cut. I'm going to commission Rope Arrow for another project. I just want to bring Rope Arrow into the fold. Hype up Rope Arrow. Follow Rope Arrow on Instagram. Cheers for the Red Deck Wins playmat. I'm stoked on it. Go watch a skateboarding video tonight if you do anything at all. I actually don't really have anything at the end of this. I have this little thank you bumper. Here's how we'll end it. We're going to end it with the start. We'll end it with the start, okay? Take care of yourselves. Good night. Thanks so much for joining tonight. Let's go back to the start. This is DVP by Pup.
All right. Here's the thing.
Pine trees, hot fences, get into trouble.
She says that I drink too much. Fucked up, she hates my dog. She says I need to grow up. I'll drop you fast, get away. Doing waiting on the top alley, but wait. Yeah, I'd be better off dead. I don't give a shit if this don't work, I go away.
Dane stayed on. And his wheel just ripped off.
3 beers and I'm so messed up. Get drunk or I can't shut up.
There's not a lot of people that can skate something that big.
She says that I drink too much. Fucked up, she hates my gut. Oh! She says I need to grow up.
Never seen that before.